Welcome back to Suzette's Guilty Pleasures. I'm your host, Suzette. Today, we will have a special guest by the name of Stephanie Duff, and we will be talking about girl empowerment. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm good. I'm good, Suzette. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks for
So
having me.
before you're welcome. So before we start, I want to introduce who Stephanie Duff is. Stephanie Duff is a passionate teacher in Toronto, Ontario, who has been teaching children for over 10 years. She received her Bachelor of Education from York University and has a Master's of Education from the University of Toronto. Stephanie's committed to four things: maximizing learning in any space, promoting a healthy sense of self, inspiring leadership, and foster critical thinking. She has dedicated her career to each of these pursuits. In 2020, which is what I'm so happy to hear, she launched a project called the RAIN Project, which is a series of children's stories aimed at empowering young Black girls to embrace and celebrate their own identities. We need a lot of that. Amen. Amen. Her new book, Me and My Hair, was published in December of last year and has begun to impact the hearts and minds of little girls, encouraging them to think differently about themselves and others. This is so amazing, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited about it. Honestly.
That's good. That's good. And I love the fact that you're focusing on the little Black girls, because we don't have a lot of that, right? But I mean, we'll talk more about that as we go along.
Right.
So I do see that you say you've been teaching for children over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Wow.
Actually,
How has that been?
I mean, it started out before, like, people say when you're teaching for 10 years, you're thinking like, okay, I got my teaching certificate and it starts for 10 years, which is kind of true, but it's a little bit more if I added in like when I was working with the youth and children at my church. I was also teaching there as, preliminary. So I wasn't officially a teacher at the time,
Right.
but I was getting that exposure, that experience, and in terms of learning how kids think, what they do, how they develop. And that's kind of where the passion for teaching also started. And so I thought to do it professionally.
Right.
And I love it. Honestly, I love it.
It's
love
funny.
it.
It's funny because that was actually one of my dreams, was to become a teacher when I was
Oh,
younger.
really?
Yes. But then when I saw how I was as a student, I
You're
said,
like, I'm not doing
no,
it.
no, because I figured the generation by the time I'm ready to teach is going to probably be worse than me. And I can't deal with somebody like me. So I have to
You're like, I'm not doing it. If there was
no,
any more than one than me, it ain't gonna
no,
work.
no. And I know how I was. So, but
I hear you.
I have to give kudos to the teachers though. Like, you guys have a really big job. And I think even with COVID, like, what is it like since the pandemic? Like, what has it been like teaching for you?
It's been it's been a teeter-totter for a lot of teachers right now,
Okay.
in terms of being online, not being online and not being online, due to the lockdowns and everything like that.
Right.
And so there's a lot of like stress. Teachers are, some teachers actually taking leave. Some teachers actually went on retirement earlier than they were expected to,
Oh,
because they're
wow.
like, I'm just not dealing with that extra stressor right now, especially if you're dealing with stuff in your own life, right?
Right.
You just want to weigh which one am I going to hold on to?
Right.
And so some of them actually like tapped out early and said, I'm just retiring like a year or two earlier than expected. For me personally, I was online from September.
Okay.
So me teeter-tottering between online and in school and things like that never happened for me.
Okay.
It was more adjusting to teaching online, like the practice completely changed. I mean, I could walk into a classroom and I could look at a book and say, you know what, I'm going to read this book to the kids.
Right.
And, be able to pull some things from it just naturally, because I've been teaching for as long as I have.
Right.
But when you're online, you have to prepare everything kind of digitally. So yeah, I may pick up a book, but I want to be able to show the pictures, and being able to show the pictures means maybe cutting and pasting and showing it on a slide so they can see it closer than me trying to hold a book and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those little nuances were something we had to kind of work through. Support looks different than when someone pops in your classroom to support you. Behaviors look different. The whole thing is now, can you mute your mic? Mute your mic, Johnny. Johnny, mute your mic. It's not your turn to speak yet. We're listening to so-and-so.
Right.
I can't see you. Please turn on your camera. You're in class. Come out of your bed, Sue. Sue, come out of your bed. It's school time. Like these are the conversations.
Yes. So wait, you actually have kids that are in bed?
Yes, they wake up and they're in their pajamas, and they're still kind of nuzzled in their blanket. And I go, you look so comfortable, friend, but now it's time for school. Remember, you got to prop up, you got to look alert, got to be, and it's just helping them to navigate, like you're in your comfort zone, you're home.
Yes.
And now we're bringing home and school in the same place. And so
Exactly.
for them, it's an adapting thing too.
Right.
But overall, I think that kids are super resilient. Like we don't give them enough credit. We just don't.
Yeah.
And so they've been doing pretty good in terms of, we went through training on how to use the mic. Most got it, some still try to, jump in.
Yeah.
But we went through training with that. We went through talking about respect, how we use our mics when we speak, using the hand button on Google Meet, just different things like that. So it's been a lot of learning. It's been a lot.
And you sort of already touched base on it, but like, have you seen a difference? But first of all, what grade do you teach?
Oh, I teach kindergarten. So you can,
oh, wow.
You can imagine. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm teaching in front of parents and the students. So if I have 30 kids on a Google Meet, I have 30 parents as well. So it's kind of, even getting past that in the beginning was like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching in front of these parents, what if they say this or they don't like this? And, you have to kind of navigate that too. When you're in your classroom, it's just you and the kids.
Exactly.
So even getting past those.
Pressure.
Yeah. At first I felt it. At first I definitely felt that little bit of, okay, we're in front of the parents, but now it's like, there's a comfort. So yeah, so it's kindergarten.
Okay. So what I want to ask you then, and I know with kindergartens, it's sort of hard to keep them focused for long periods of time, but have you, do you see a difference in their behavior? Like, has it impacted them in any way? Like, have you noticed that not being in school has impacted them in any way?
Again, overall, they navigate pretty well. They're pretty resilient, but the kids are pretty vocal. They'll say, Miss Duff, when are we going back to in school? When are we going back? I want to be able to go back and go this and do that, especially for ones that have been there, the SKs. JKs, they don't know the difference because this is like their first time being exposed to school. But for the SKs, they think about, when are we going back? And some kids will pipe up and say, well, we can't go back. It's coronavirus. We can't go back. It's coronavirus. We have to stay home, right? Like you can tell they've been trained. And so, so it's in terms of that, like there is a wanting still for being in the class, being face-to-face and all of those different things, which I understand, right? But in terms of even just their own physical behaviors and just like, those kids in class that don't put up their hands, there's going to be those kids that just open their mic, those kind of behaviors, those that are tired and not as engaged. So the behaviors in terms of that, like just normal childlike behaviors are still there. But there is a longing for most of them that they do want to be back in the classroom.
I can imagine because even in the field that I work in, when I see some of the kids and I speak to them about like being at home, like you do hear from them, like, I wish I was at school to talk to my friends, see my teacher and things like that. So I can imagine what that's like. So that's good. But kindergarten, as I said, I can only imagine like what that is.
The beginning was rough.
I can imagine.
But once they get the hang of things, honestly, it's like, it's clockwork now, right? They get it. And, I even tried to, one of the things with the classroom, you're trying to build a community. You're trying to still capture like, making friends and stuff. Like you don't want them to be so isolated. So we've created little spaces where they can have conversations. Oh, so-and-so, can I show you my doll? Miss Stuff, can I show so-and-so my doll I got? Oh, look at my new house. Look at my new house. And they're like giving us tours and right. Like, so just giving them that opportunity to just to speak and just be. I think that's helped to create even little friendships online with them. They're like, oh, can I talk to my best friend? Miss Stuff, can I talk now? Is it my turn to talk? Right? Like, so hearing that, at least I know like, okay, there's a community building. Everyone's not like hiding behind their mic.
Right. I do have to ask one question before we start talking about your book, because I know that I'm sure you've seen on social media a lot of like Zoom accidents. Have you had any Zoom accidents, whether it's with the parents or the kids?
I haven't had any crazy Zoom accidents like what I've seen online. You may get like one or two parents, like, they're a little louder than most or whatever, they're overpowering what we're saying. And I'll be like, so-and-so, can you mute your mic, friend? Can you, mute your mic, because I also don't want to hear anything I shouldn't hear either.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to hear anything. But no crazy stuff. Thank goodness.
Okay,
No
that's
crazy
good.
stuff.
That's good.
Mhm.
So you had mentioned that you've been teaching for 10 plus years because, as you said, you started teaching in church.
Right.
So what inspired you to write a book?
Well, to be honest, firstly, let me just put it out there. I did not want to be an author. I didn't want to write a book. I had no desire. I had no plan.
Okay.
It wasn't one of those things when you're a kid growing up, like, I really want to be an author. You know what I mean? Like, it was never like that. It was one of those things where I was writing a Facebook post. And when I was done writing the Facebook post, I was like, where did this all come from? What did I just write? Literally, I said that to myself. And the post was basically talking about this young Black girl with natural hair who will, go through things that deal with and address social justice issues and things. I even talked about, wanting to do an animated film with Disney. Like, there was all these grander ideas, but I had no idea where they were coming from.
Right.
And so I told a few people, like my family, my brother, my sisters, my mom, my dad, and things like that, and even a few friends about it. And I was like, what do you guys make of this? And they're like, it sounds like you should do something. And I'm like, do what? An animated film? Like, I don't have any access to anybody that does animated films.
Right.
So, I called my brother, who's like full of ideas and thinks so far ahead.
Right.
And he was saying, like, let's flesh it out. Let's dig it deeper. And I'm like, okay, have no
Right.
idea how to do that, but sure.
I don't know
And
if
so
I'm that
he came
serious,
over,
but okay.
right? So he came over with like markers and like large full scaps of paper, and he was like making bubbles and writing and asking me like a bag of questions about, what do you want her to be like, and where did this idea, do you think it came from, what is it with Disney that you like he really dug so deep that by the time we were done, he was like, well, hey, start with children's stories. And I'm like, I don't know how to write. Like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Write about what? Who's gonna read it, right? That's kind of where my mind was at.
Mhm.
But that same night, I did pray about it because I really wanted to know, like, am I on the right track, or is this kind of just a Facebook post, right?
Right.
When I prayed about it, I got a dream, and in the dream, basically, I got the name of the character.
Okay.
Like, that's where I got the name Rain from.
Right.
And so that was like, for me, that was one of the solidifying moments that I'm supposed to do this. And there was other things that happened in the dream that kind of motivated me and pushed me to be like, get on this stuff. Like, even if you don't know how, just do it.
Right.
Right. And then in terms of just the idea of doing hair, the concept of hair, it's a big deal for me because I love hair personally.
Okay.
And so when I thought about doing hair, I said, okay, what am I basing this on? Why? And so for me, I know growing up, even in high school,
Mhm.
hair was a challenge. I didn't know what to do with it. I
Right.
always came home and complained about it.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, I don't know what to do with this hair. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And then what happened was, even at one point, my mom's like, you can perm it, right? Like, if it's so hard to do, just perm it. And I'm like, I don't want to perm it, because if I perm it, my hair's so thin, it's gonna look limp, it's gonna be on my scalp, I might look like a boy. I don't want to do that, right? Like,
Let me tell you, I can tell you one thing. My kids actually hate me for that, even now, because I did perm their hair when they were younger. Because for me, it
really?
was like, just as you said, it was too much to handle, right? But now it's funny because now they're all about, I don't know why you permed our hair. Our hair is fine,
Wow.
natural. So it's funny that you say that your mom told you just perm your hair.
Well,
That was
because
our
it's
solution
like a
back in
way
the
out.
day, though, right? That was a solution. Just perm it.
That was the way out.
It was.
And so so I mean, it was such a challenge for those 4 years. It was just like, I didn't know what to do with my hair. And I remember being like, what do I do? And having that struggle. And
Mhm.
even as I grew older, I realized young Black girls were having the same struggle.
Mhm.
And it was the conversations of, I don't know what to do with my hair, or I don't like my hair, or they're trying to straighten, and in the process of straightening, it's burning and becoming limp. And you know what I mean? Like, just going through that phase. And so I really thought that, because hair is so important to the Black community, Black females, I
Yes.
figured that, hey, why not write a book first about loving your own hair as it is? And
Yes.
that's kind of where the concept came from.
Okay. And what I like, and I think when your brother said to you, write a kid's book. That's probably your best way to start, right? Because kids are so honest with their answers.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, with a kid's book, you can write it as basic as you want, but making sure you get the message out there. So that's like the perfect
Mhm.
area to start. You know what I mean? I mean, you're not trying to
Exactly.
become like a Michelle
Exactly.
Obama with her book,
Exactly.
right? At least
Because-
not yet. Not yet, I should say.
Not yet.
So
Let's do that. Let's not.
yeah,
Not yet.
not yet. You're gonna get there. So, I mean, you pretty much spoke about some of the things that I wanted to ask you, but I know you spoke about high school, but what about when you were in elementary school? Like, did you have kids making fun of you because of your hair or because of like your skin color, any of those things? Because I know that you state in your, what you just stated is that you were thinking about the younger kids and especially the young Black children and what they have to experience and go through. And I'm sure like a lot of them are experiencing a lot of different things in school and not sure how to manage it. How did you experience that growing up, and how would you be portraying, I guess, that through your book or even through your future books?
So with that, like when it came to my hair, I don't recall a lot of like making fun of, teasing with respect to my own hair.
Okay.
And I don't recall, like I felt it was more of an internal, like my own self, that
Mm,
I'm like, I really need to get a handle on my own hair. What
okay.
do I do with it? And I didn't really have a lot of people to tell me what to do. My mom grew up, we washed their hair, she plaited, we went to school in bubbles and things like that. But when you
Right.
get to high school and you're doing it on your own, it becomes more challenging.
Right.
Um, but what one thing I did get made fun of a lot was for my glasses. And that was
Wow. Imagine that, eh? Of all things, my glasses. Everybody wears glasses. Like, what?
so now glasses is a thing. Like people who
Yes.
don't need prescriptions are wearing glasses. But the time when I started wearing glasses, it was like you're a four eyes. You know what I mean? How come you can't see? Like,
Right.
you go through those things. And I
Right.
just laugh now when I see people wearing glasses and things like that. But I know that everyone tends to go through either a phase of teasing or bullying and those sort of things. And so having a book at such a young age for girls and anybody really, but for
Mhm.
young Black girls specifically, to be able to have something or a tool that teachers can use, parents can use, that they can read themselves to
Mhm.
feel like empowered, to feel like, yeah, I do love my hair.
Right.
Actually, I love my body too. And
Right.
actually, I love my this. And I love, like, to really build that confidence early instead of later on in life.
Right.
That's kind of my goal, right?
Mhm.
And you can apply to anything. For this young girl, Rain, it was hair.
Right.
For another Black girl, it might be her body. For
Right.
another Black girl, it might be, her speech, or, her lips or her nose. It could be anything with the way society is set up.
For
And
sure.
so hopefully this book can be one of those stepping stones to help build that confidence and esteem.
For sure. And I sort of want to actually relate this book to your school. Did any of
Mhm.
your teaching also help to inspire you to want to create this character Rain and to talk about some of the things that you are going to be talking about, like what you talk about in this specific book and also in your future books?
There, in terms of, I've been thinking about future books and dealing with the idea of a girl's place in society and a boy's place in society.
Okay.
And that is kind of stemming from a conversation I had with grade threes, where they basically were saying, one boy was saying that girls don't play soccer,
Okay.
only boys play soccer. And we
Wow.
had a whole hour, 45-minute conversation on why he thought that way. Where is that coming from? And
Mhm.
so a lot of what I'm writing about is my own personal experiences, what I see around me, developmentally where kids are at,
Mhm.
thinking about those conversations that I have in the classroom, hearing how kids are being bullied or how they speak about their hair and things like that.
Mhm.
One girl said to me, she was in kindergarten, and she goes to me, she's like, Miss Duff, I'm beautiful. And I go, wow, how do you know you're beautiful? And she was like, well, look at my smile and look at my hair,
That's
right?
nice.
Like hearing those conversations and wanting to like jump in and be like, yes, you are, and build
Right.
them up and get them excited about being who they are.
Right.
Um, I really want that for young girls, especially with the society that we live in where everything is like, you know, you got to look good, your hair got to look like this, you got to be like this. I really want them early on in life to kind of just get a sense of who they are, a
Yes.
strong sense of self.
Yes. I agree with you because and I agree with you when you say that it should start a very young age, because as they're getting older, they're also developing their own identity based on
Exactly.
those around them, what they've learned, what they're hearing. And then by the time
Exactly.
that you're ready to catch them, whether it's at like 8, 9, 10, it's a bit too late
Right.
because they've already, you know what I mean? Like it's ingrained in their minds, right? So
Right.
it's really important. What age would you say that this specific book, first of all, what's the name of your book?
Me and my hair.
In My Hair. Okay. What age would you say, there it is. Nice, nice. What age would you say this specific book is geared towards?
So this specific book, and I'm thinking for the rest of them, it will be geared for 6 to 10-year-olds.
Okay.
But what I'm also finding is that families that have gotten the book
Mhm.
for their younger girls, like 4 years old, 5 years old, they're identifying with the
Wow.
character. They're
Wow.
literally saying, "Mommy, is that me?"
Wow.
And the parents, they're blown. They're like, wow, how can they think, like, I don't understand, like, this book is great, this book is great because my child sees themselves. And I go, wow, for
Yeah,
me, that is amazing. This
exactly.
is 4-year-olds,
Right.
5-year-olds, some are even 3, and just turning the pages and looking and becoming acquainted with characters that honestly look like them.
No, it's true.
That's it. They
That's
just look like them. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's directed for 6-year-old to 10-year-old, but anybody can benefit from it, and based on wherever they are developmentally, in terms of being younger.
okay.
But yeah, I've seen and heard a lot of good positive feedback when
That is
it comes to
awesome.
that representation piece.
That's good. And that just also shows you that, as you said before earlier, you got to give a lot of these kids credit, right? So even as young as 3, we may think, oh, they're not getting that, they're not understanding it. But what they don't realize is that, when we're giving them
Right.
a tablet to go on YouTube, or when they're watching these shows, or the toys we buy
Come
them,
on.
you're already starting to
Come
teach
on.
them, right? So from the fact that they can look at your book
Yep.
with a Black child or a Black girl and say, is that me? Of course,
Yep.
that's amazing to hear, right? So I can only imagine how you feel when you're hearing that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. No, I like that.
Girl, let me tell you, I said the vision has been attained. Like when I
Right?
hear that, I'm like, thank you, Lord. Because honestly, that was it for me. That if it's only for one Black girl that says, is that me? If it's for one Black girl that says, hey, I love my hair, I bubble up inside with like
Of
excitement.
course.
I even had the opportunity to read the book. I even had the opportunity to read the book to my school, and some of
Awesome.
the
Wow.
responses from some of these grade 5s,
What grade?
even some of the responses from the grade 5s, I was like, wow, like they were
Wow.
like, I love my hair, I've always loved my hair, even though some of my family has straight hair, I still love my hair naturally. And I was like, oh my goodness.
That is amazing. What age is grade 5? Sorry.
10
10.
years old.
Okay, you see that? And that's what I'm saying. You don't realize the impact of that. A lot of things that kids are seeing, how it impacts them, right? And as you said,
Exactly.
our hair is very important in our culture.
Right.
They tend to also say our hair is a story, and it's everybody's different story, right? So
Right.
it makes
Right.
a big difference when we can teach our kids at such a young age of the importance of hair and stuff like that. Because I mean, as I said, when I was growing up, perming your hair was the in thing. If you didn't have
Right.
your hair perm, you were like, something was wrong with you. Like, who are you? You had to have your hair perm, slick back in a ponytail. That was a
Yeah.
in thing. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yes.
remember when I started to hear this whole natural wave, I was like, ew, who wants to go natural? You know what I mean? It was like, why would somebody want to go to natural? Because then I started
Exactly.
thinking about when I was growing up, and when you're getting your hair combed every week, wash, comb, braided up,
The
hair, you
process.
have to brush getting hit in the head,
The
all of
process.
those things.
The process. Oh my
And it was
God.
a process, right? Sunday
Mhm.
was the hair date. It was just like,
Hair day.
oh, why? So it was like, just perm your hair. You don't have to deal with that. So
Right.
when I heard about that natural, I was like, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy.
You're like, not me.
No, not me. But the funny thing is that my hair is natural. So
Ah,
you know what I mean? So it's just like, wow.
you got caught.
I got caught in the trend. I did. So what do you feel makes it harder growing up as a young Black girl now versus when, I guess, when you were being raised, like when you were growing up? Do you even see that there might be a little
Hmm.
bit more difficulty now for girls than it was for you?
I think so because I mean, we didn't have social media like this. We didn't have
Yeah.
YouTube.
Hmm.
We didn't we weren't exposed to so much at such a young age. We weren't exposed to seeing what the whole world looked like
Yeah.
at one time. Like we were only governed by what I saw at school, what I saw maybe at church, what I saw, in my family. That was it. But
Yep.
now you're seeing people in like Ireland, you're seeing people in Australia, you're seeing people in Connecticut, you're seeing people in London, and now you're like bombarded with these images.
Yes.
And so when you're getting now likes for your images, when you're getting, applauded for the more that you show your body, it becomes even more challenging for any female to be able to contend with,
Very.
much less young Black girls that are struggling with their own hair, with their body, with their skin color.
Yeah.
It's just in your face. So I would argue and say, yeah, I think it's a little bit harder. I wish I did have YouTube to help me in high school when I was trying to figure out what to do with my hair, but I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a catch-22 where it's like amazing to have so much access, but
Mhm.
with so much access now comes responsibility, becomes ownership, becomes even becoming comfortable with yourself with all these images. And so taking every image with a grain of salt and not using it as a comparison or a barometer to be how you're supposed to look.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, I know that we're talking a lot about young girls, but like even for young males, it's just as hard too, right? Because I mean,
Right.
a lot of them, they're all they're thinking is I need to be in sports in order to be rich because they all want to be rich, right? Or they're trying to be this rapper and getting caught up in all of these things, but they're
Right.
not realizing, and I've heard like little boys that are maybe 2 or 3 that can actually rap a song, but they can't say their
Wow.
ABCs. And it's like
Oh,
that doesn't make any
oh,
sense to me. You know what I mean? So
right.
you're right. It's a catch-22, as you said, right? It's good, but it's not good, right?
Right.
I mean, the only time when we were growing up, when we heard about at the other countries, it was through encyclopedias. Our
I know. And you had
encyclopedias
to
was
like go
YouTube.
to the library to actually go get the
Exactly.
encyclopedia or go to school and go take it
Exactly.
out. Like the process was so much more longer and difficult that
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
it wasn't the same.
No, it wasn't. So yeah, you're right. It is very difficult. Um, Now you talked about your book wanting to be empowering to
Right.
the young reader. How would you define empowerment? In what?
Good
In
question. I guess that's a word we throw around and like, oh, what
yeah,
does it
right.
really mean?
Feel good because I want to empower. Like, okay, what
I
does
want
it
to be
mean?
empowering. Yeah, what does that mean? But I think that it means like when I think about empowering, I think about me depositing something in somebody else to
Mhm.
do something or to feel good about or confident in. So for me, when I'm talking about I want to empower young Black girls to embrace their own identity, I want to deposit in you something that makes you feel um, um, a healthy sense of self regarding your body, your image, your thinking life, everything that it makes up you. I
Mhm.
want to deposit something that where either it be the stories or the values that you gain from the stories propel you now to go forward and continue to do that for somebody else. So with this, in this case, I'm empowering through the book, Me and My Hair, where
Mhm.
I'm saying, own your own hair, be
Right.
proud of your own hair.
Mhm.
Now walk in that thinking,
Oh,
walk in that thinking throughout life. And that empowering allows that person to now have steps and footing to walk into.
mm,
And so when I think about it, I think of it like literally a deposit that goes in, like goes down deep on the inside of an individual or these young Black girls specifically,
right.
that allows them to be able to carry through life. So
I
that's what I think about.
I like that. I like that. Um,
Yeah.
and how would you say that when you were growing up, that there was a sense of empowerment back then versus is there more empowerment now in today's society? Would you say?
I think it, I think it was always there, but I guess it goes back to the access again.
Mm.
Just like now, like you said, you brought up Michelle Obama. Like
Right,
I can now click on YouTube and listen to an interview by Michelle Obama as
right,
many times as I want to.
right,
Whereas when, I was growing up, I didn't have access to, repeat videos. We had to wait until Thursday at 8 p.m. to watch the video. And if you missed it, that you missed it. Like,
right.
you had your TV guide flipping through and like, when is it coming on
Exactly.
again? I don't want to miss it. You have to like literally, cut out a whole bulk of time to be able
Right,
to catch that episode of that, interview or show. Otherwise it was lost,
right,
right? Now you have PVR, you have YouTube, you have your phone that you can save things on, where if I need, a reassurance again, I can access it like that. But
right,
back then it was like you got it and then, you had to remember or
right,
write your notes. And back then again, you only had that smaller circle of family, friends, maybe church folks or those that you grew up with. That was almost the extent of it. But
mhm,
now again, here we are. I can listen to the Michelle Obamas, the Jean Augustines,
mhm,
those women and be able to be empowered by them on a regular basis through
right,
Instagram or through their whatever other channels they may have.
right,
So I think it was always there, but
right.
now the reach is like so much further.
Okay, right. And it's more in our face too now
Yeah,
than it was back then. And
right.
like you were talking about like back in the days when, if you missed something, you had to like catch it the following week. But you
Right.
know, but this is a good but speaking about like empowerment and just the way that we were seen as Black young girls, growing
Right.
up, the TV shows, like, did you feel that even in some of the TV shows that we watched growing up, like the Cosby Show or
Mhm.
Different World or Family Matters and all those things, do you feel that there was some kind of message in some of the things that they were trying to teach young people, or I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think that when we looked at like, I mean, Cosby Show's like a staple in our community when
Definitely,
we were
yeah.
growing up. It was like the show.
Yep.
And like you said, the Family Matters. You found that every one of those shows had like that moral of the story where
Mhm,
you can kind of walk away from or walk away with after watching the video. And
mhm,
again, that representation was there for us to be able to see Black families and be able to see how they problem solved and how they kind of work through certain things. So those are shows, even for me, I remember carving out time. I
mhm.
may not have got everything that they were doing in the video. I was younger then,
Yeah,
but it was something to look forward to where I could see characters or actors and actresses uh, representing the Black community in such a way that was, deemed as positive.
right.
So it was nice to see that. But
Yeah,
again, now I can look at those shows now, and when I look at it, my lens is so different. I was
yeah.
like, wow, they were talking about that. Like,
Right.
I didn't even know, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
when we talk about even police brutality, and when I look at some of the shows I used to watch, I didn't realize how much it was this issue as a
yes,
younger girl, as much as I do now. So
right,
some of the issues they were tackling then, like it's amazing now from, being older, I can see what they were trying to do, and it
right,
was there. So
right.
definitely, I definitely see that. And there was that representation there.
Okay. And I noticed that during the pandemic, a lot of so obviously a lot of people were impacted by the pandemic, and some people had to end up starting new businesses. And I noticed that a lot of people actually started writing children's books, right?
Mm,
Because they all felt that there need to be more representation of Black
right.
children, because we don't have a lot of books with
In
Black children
children's books.
in it,
Yeah.
right? Or even as big like characters of
Yeah.
whether they're superheroes or whatever and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's good to see that you also are now bringing another book to that category to help
Yeah.
bring that message out there too, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's good.
no. And I'm excited about that because again, remember, like I told you in the beginning, I was not planning to be an
Right.
author. Yes, I read I read children's books to the kids regularly. That I love doing that,
Right.
but it was never a plan. And now that I'm in it, I'm seeing more, like, it wasn't just me seeing like, oh, there's not enough representation. When I actually look at the statistics,
Right.
you realize, oh my goodness, there is a gap. Like, it's crazy.
What,
You,
know the statistic off by heart?
one of the things I do remember is that animals, books with animals and things like that, like fantasy type stuff,
Mhm.
they're at the top.
What?
There's more books about animals than there
Wow.
is about Black characters. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And obviously our white counterparts as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when you look at that, you're like, animals? Like, really?
Exactly.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So they're definitely, I'm realizing like, oh my goodness, I definitely want to be a part of this solution. Like,
Mhm.
I want to be a part of contributing to a young Black girl's library, that she can be like, I did have books actually growing up. So she didn't have my narrative. She didn't have what I'm saying, or I didn't have it. I
Right.
didn't have Black children's books growing up. You know
Right.
what I mean? And even when I asked my mom and my dad about it, I'm like, did I have Black children's books? I didn't remember. They're like,
Right.
no, actually you didn't. And I was
Right.
like, that's weird now. That's unreal. Like, how do
Right.
I not have books with me in it? Like, characters that look like me.
For sure.
And so it's one of those things now where I'm like, I need, this is super important to me. I
Right.
want, my children, their children, and whoever other's children to be able to have in their library books with
Mhm.
Black characters, period. I just,
Right.
I just want that. There's a necessity for it.
No, for sure, for sure. So you've raised your book. If you can put it, show your book again. So Me and My Hair by Stephanie Duff. So just give us a quick synopsis of what this book is about. So I know that you said it's a girl named Rain.
Right. So yeah, it's about the book, sorry, circles around a young Black girl named Maureen. She's about 10 years old.
Okay.
And she starts a new school. But
Okay.
in starting this new school, obviously, like anyone who starts new school, you're a little bit nervous. Who's your teacher? Who am I gonna make any friends? It's just that weird, awkward, like, oh, don't nobody look at me. So
Yeah.
she was kind of in that phase. But when she started on her first day, she realized people were like bullying her, and she was trying to figure out, why are they bullying me? Realizing they were laughing at her hairstyle, laughing
Okay.
at what her hair looked like. And then, fast forward, she's kind of dealing with that acceptance piece and now starting to hate her hair because of what the kids are saying.
Mm,
And by the end of it, it's one of those things where it's like, she has an experience in the book by going to a hair salon, and then boom, she realizes, I do love my hair and I'm going to love my hair. And in spite of what these people are saying, these kids,
mm,
I am going to love my hair, and I'm going to show them to love their hair too, and
good.
that differences are okay. And so it's really just a journey for children to see, aspects of bullying, aspects
Right.
of racism, aspects of diversity,
Right.
aspects of all of those things that kind of coupled into one, that
Mhm.
they can be able to take from in their own lives when they are in school, and how to treat people with respect, right?
Yes.
And so that's kind of my goal. At the end of the book, I have even a spot for teachers and um, parents, that kind of has like a making connections page where you can literally
Okay.
like have a whole blurb of like one of the themes, and here are
Yes.
some questions that they can be able to target. If they don't have their own questions, that
Right.
then they have a tool that can help them.
That's nice. I like that idea actually, because
That's the
sometimes,
teacher in me.
yeah, it has to be, because I do feel that when you're reading some of these books, sometimes we read the book just to read the book. You know what
Right.
I mean? Some parents they're not necessarily reading to think, okay, is there a message? Like, we know that there is a message in some books, but like sometimes we just read to read. So I mean, that part is really, that was smart. I like that. That was really good.
Yeah,
I like
thank you. Thank you.
so what are your other future projects for the Rain project?
So some other future projects is really just thinking about my second book, as we kind of talked about earlier, with regard to just allowing young Black girls and girls in general to know that they have access to different types of jobs, and that it's not career paths, and it's not really just one size fits all. Like, this is for girls and this is for boys. So I'm
Mhm.
doing a little bit of research on that, and just kind of taking a look at what that looks like in society, and how I kind of bring it into a story for children.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things I'm doing right now. And honestly, I'm just really trying to get the RAIN Project's mission and vision out there, that people can see, yeah, I did write a children's book, that's great, but I really want you to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, it's not just to make a buck, or,
Right.
to just get my face out there and to be, the next somebody. Like, it's not even about that. It really is boiling down to, there is a need, guys, and
Mhm.
these young Black girls need us, and
Mhm.
I want to be able to capture them and let them see their beauty for what it is early. So
Yes.
when they are 13, when they are 15, they're not going to get caught up in this whole, like, who am I? I'm not beautiful. I'm not this, I want to be like this person.
Yes.
You want them from early to be able to have a healthy sense of self.
Yes.
Really,
Self-identity.
that's what it is for me. And so if I can get my little bit in to contribute to what other people are already doing, that's what I really want to get out there.
For sure. And as you said, like, even if it's just that one girl, as long as you're helping somebody, right? That's all that
Yep.
really matters at this point, right?
Yep.
Um, is there anything that you would talk about? I know you mentioned social injustice that you would be bringing up too. Would you be bringing that up in your book, social injustice? So, like with all the racism stuff that's going on, even like now in today's society, will Rain be exploring some of those things to help some of these young kids?
I'm not against that at all. I haven't thought that far ahead.
Sorry, I hear you. I
I
hear you.
haven't thought that far ahead. I do have like this huge vision board on my wall where if an idea comes to me or if someone pitches something to me, I'll write it down and let it marinate and things like that.
For sure.
So right now I haven't thought that far, but definitely like, things like colorism, I want to be able to bring out things around, even just the shrinkage, sorry, of our hair. I want
Yes.
to be able to bring that out because, a lot of people don't know what happens in our hair when it gets in water. Like, you know what I mean? It's a whole nuance for some cultures. It's like what happened to your hair? It
Yeah.
got wet. That's what happens when your hair gets wet. Like,
Is that why
yeah,
you guys don't know how to swim?
maybe we should write about that.
Maybe you should put that one up in there. Why we do not go out into the swimming pool and get our hair wet.
And maybe I should let Rain be one that, goes into water and gets her hair
And
wet.
gets her hair wet, and then it shrinks,
And then
and they're like, "Oh, what happened to you?"
girl, you are writing my next story. Okay. You are writing my next story right now.
Just put it out there, man. Just putting it out there. But no,
yeah, like it's just things like that is so common to us in terms of what happens to our hair when it gets wet that
sure.
a lot of people don't understand and how we navigate that. That would be that's another awesome idea, right?
Sure.
And it's just kind of showing forth who we are as Black people and letting it be okay.
Yes.
That it happens. It's okay. It's cool.
Yes.
And just getting that again early.
Yes. And one good thing about it too is that if you can get them in the school, like it was awesome that you were able to read it to your school, but even if
Yeah.
you were able to get the book into the schools or into the classrooms where it's not just Black girls that are seeing this book, but other cultures that are seeing this book and being able to have an understanding of not just Black culture, but what's happening to their friend or what does their friend go through, right?
Right.
Because they also
No, and that's exactly one of my that's one of my desires. That is one of my desires, and getting into every school and every board here in Canada, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And that to ensure that, hey, there's a diverse book, one, in the classroom.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Two, it's a diverse book about Black characters and seeing Black families on these pages. You know what I mean? So I 100% agree with you that by getting it in the classrooms, it would give so much exposure to other cultures on what it is that we experience on the day to day. You know what I mean? And what it is, in this case with hair, what it looks like and feels like. And, there's even a page, one of my favorite pages. And I find that the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds actually love this page too, because they just identify. Right. But it's a page where it's like literally just different hairstyles of Black girls.
Hairstyles, yes.
So you see the fro hawk, you see the braids, you see the little buns, you see cornrows, just little different hairstyles that Black girls can do. And be like, wow, my hair can actually do a lot. You know what I mean? It's not what you think it is or what, people want to make it out to be. It's actually, flexible and versatile in that way.
Right. Well, I do have to say we are going to manifest your book going into the schools, the boards, the schools. It may turn into a movie. Let's throw it out in there.
I'm receiving all of that. Keep throwing it. I'm catching it. Come on.
Take it all.
I'm catching it, man.
So for those who want to get a book, how can they get their own copy?
Wonderful. So yeah, people can you can go on Amazon, you'll find it there. Easy access, Me and My Hair by Stephanie Duff. You can also go to the rainproject.com. You can also click a link there in order to purchase the book as well. But Amazon, Barnes and Noble, it's on ebook as well with Indigo.
Oh,
So there's different avenues in which you can be able to purchase the book. And yeah, and be able to read it to your little one, or donate it to a school, or get it in their libraries. That would be amazing, so that the story can get out, and that even the project itself can get out.
for sure, for sure. And what I'll do is I will also add those links to the bottom of
Perfect.
our description, so that that way it's easy access for also our viewers to be able to, and listeners, sorry, to be able to have access to purchasing your copy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate that, Suzette,
You're
honestly.
welcome. You're welcome. So I do want to say thank you so much for joining me today and having this conversation once again to talk about Me and My Hair, your first book, to
Yay.
talk about the journey that we go through with our hair, because yes, our hair is a story. Our hair does have a journey of its own.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
You're very
Thank you for
welcome.
having me. The conversation was good. It was
Thank
fun
you.
to reminisce even about, like, Family Matters, the Cosby
Right?
Show, like all those stories. Like it was nice. It
No,
was
it's
nice.
true.
Kudos to those creators back then that were trying to bridge those gaps that we didn't even
Exactly.
realize was a gap, but I didn't realize,
Exactly. I didn't
I
realize
didn't
it
even
either.
take it in.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and listen, you're gonna do big things. I can see it. And as you said, you wanted to be part of Disney. Disney got you. Or Ava.
Ava
Make
and
sure
Disney, let's hold
make
this.
sure
When this goes live and we go back, you'd be like, remember she said it?
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So make sure you tweet Ava and all your Twitter accounts and everything. So she hears
True.
you, she sees you, right?
True.
So once again, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And as I said to my listeners and to my viewers, I will have the description in the bottom where you can purchase your own copy of Me and My Hair. Take
Awesome.
care.
Thank you.